Hello guys, hope you're doing well. In this video, I wanna start by giving an example involving cotangent. But before that, if you enjoyed this kind of videos, please subscribe to our channel and support us. I'd really appreciate it if you also share the channel with your friends. And don't forget to give it a like. So let's go. For example, if cotangent x is equal 4 over 3 and x is in the, for example, third quadrant, so what is the value of sine x, cosine x, and tangent x? First, I'll solve this problem using formula-based method. We know that 1 plus cotangent squared x is equal 1 over sine squared x. So 1 plus cotangent x is equal 4 over 3. So cotangent squared x is equal 16 over 9 is equal 1 over sine squared x. So if we take a common denominator, we have 9, and in the numerator we have 9 plus 16, so is equal 25 divided by 9 is equal 1 over sine squared x. So sine squared x is equal 9 over 25, and finally sine x is equal, if we take the square root of both sides of the equation, we have 3 over 5, and since x is in the third quadrant, we know that sign of the sine is negative. So sine x is negative 3 over 4, and we know that cosine squared x is equal 1 minus sine squared x. So 1 minus sine squared x is equal 9 over 25 is equal 16 over 25. So cosine x is equal, if we take the square root of both sides of the equation, we have 4 over 5, and we know that the sign of cosine is in the third quadrant is negative 4 over 5, and we know that tangent is the reciprocal of cotangent, so tangent x is equal 3 over 4. Okay? Now the second method, which is the graphical method. Take a look at this right triangle, and if we take this angle as x, so according to the definition of cotangent, cotangent x is equal the adjacent side divided by the opposite side. Okay, so the adjacent side is equal 4 and the opposite side is equal 3. And according to the Pythagorean theorem, the hypotenuse is equal 5. So sine x is equal the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse is equal 3 over 5. And cosine x is equal the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse is equal 4 over 5. And finally, tangent x is equal the opposite side divided by the adjacent side is equal 3 over 4. And since x is in the third quadrant, so sine x is equal minus and cosine x is equal minus. So sine x is equal minus 3 over 4 and cosine x is equal minus 4 over 5 and tangent x is equal 3 over 4. So let's see how the things we just talked about will help us when solving problems. For example, if cosine x is equal minus the square root of 10 over 10 and the terminal side of angle x lies in the third quadrant, okay, of the unit circle. So what is the value of tangent of 3 pi over 2 minus x? Okay, so we know that 3 pi over 2 minus x is in the third quadrant because take a look at the unit circle, sorry. And here is 3 pi over 2. So 3 pi over 2 minus x is in the third quadrant. And we know that the sign of tangent in the third quadrant is positive. And 3 pi over 2 like acid. So tangent 3 pi over 2 minus x is positive cotangent x. Okay, so cosine x is equal minus the square root of 10 over 10. So take a look at this right triangle. And if we take this angle as x, so according to the definition of cosine, which is cosine x is equal the adjacent side divided by hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is equal the square root of 10 and the hypotenuse is equal 10. So according to the Pythagorean theorem, we have 10 squared is equal 100 is equal the square root of 10 squared is equal 10 plus, and if we call this side, for example, y plus y squared, so y squared is equal 90. So y is equal the square root of 90 or 9 times 10. So y is equal 3 times the square root of 10. So here is 3 times the square root of 10. So cotangent x is equal the adjacent side divided by the opposite side. So cotangent x is equal the square root of 10 divided by 3 the square root of 10. And we know that the square root of 10 and the square root of 10, they cancel out and is equal 1 over 3. Okay?